real estate group, thank you for being here at our sales meeting. I got one applauder. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your being here. So, did anyone hear about the asteroid headed for Earth?
Yes.
Can you believe that? I mean, like, it's out of a movie, right? So last night, NASA ran a spaceship into an asteroid 7 million miles away in order to avoid the asteroid from hitting the Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't make this up. It was in the news, right? So let's all be blessed today that we're still here to talk about it. So with that, let's talk about some wants and needs, right? Who has some listings or buyers they want to talk about? Yes, sir.
I'll grab you right after this. I've only asked you so many questions about this.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. It's located south of Mountain's Edge Regional Park, right off of Durango and Cactus. 515 going live on Friday.
Very cool. Very cool. Anyone else? Yes.
Oh, seller's super motivated.
Seller's motivated.
She didn't.
Ever since they signed the agreement.
She's like, I gotta get rid of it.
I have a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 800,000, 3,500 square feet with half an acre of land and Charleston and Hollywood.
View of the city?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. View of Las Vegas. Anybody else that I missed? No? Going once? Yes.
I'm just walking.
Hold on, I was going up the stairs. Still have that single story that has out in by Floyd Lamb Park. But it has the paid off solar, but they dropped it from $545 to $499.9.
Nice.
Wow. So it's ready to go. So
Hot price reduction. I miss anybody? Check within yourselves. All right, let's talk to Lois about, I don't want to say it because I'm not allowed to.
I have some, so I'm okay. So this is our weekly raffle for Blues for Boobies raffle. It goes towards the Breast Cancer Society. And if anybody else wants to sign up, we can do that, and then we'll raffle it off when Sherry comes up to do her thing. Shelley. I can't fix today. If
So,
you
to sign up, what do I have to do?
you give me money or you sign up on Venmo, and then you sign up on these little raffle things, and then we pick one of the numbers, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 winners. So, okay?
Perfect.
All right.
All right, see Lois to sign up. Okay, next up, Shelly P. with Prosperity. She's got some football news to share. And some mortgage information too, I know.
She gets more
What
applause
are
than
they?
you do.
Happy Tuesday, everyone.
Happy Tuesday.
Come on. Happy Tuesday, everyone. So nice to see all your beautiful smiley faces. All right. So how many of you guys know we have a football contest going on?
I've heard about it.
Yeah. How many of you would like to participate to earn gift cards every single week?
I do.
Okay. So we're week 3 of our football contest. First place is going to be $25, second place is $10, and today third place is $10 also, but it should be $5. You can also enter to win by most points. You don't have to win every single week. The grand prize, which is $250 gift card. How fun is that? Woo! Do you guys watch football? You guys must watch hockey. Is that what's going on? Hockey! Yes, went to our first preseason. All right, so to lead off week 3, Tyson came in as number 1 this week. Give it up for Tyson. Is that here? Christy Stark was second place. Give it up for Christy. And Ellie was third place. Thank you, Ellie. All right. So I know I have 20 minutes to talk about rates. Just kidding. How many of you guys heard that the federal pal, look at the face on you, Jay, that he spoke by Wednesday. It's not helping us today. It is not helping us today. Okay, so Jerome Powell, who is our Fed chairman, spoke on Wednesday and basically made a decision to increase the federal fund rates by 75 bps. What does that mean to us? Good job. So the short-term rates went up, right, which would affect our like car loans, student loans, some of our like HELOCs, our shorter-term loans. But it also sent a little bit of uncertainty into the market, in which we saw, from a mortgage standpoint, higher interest rates. So anybody want to take a guess where we're at with rates today?
7%.
Very close.
6.5.
Remember when I asked everybody 3 months ago what it would feel like if we were at 6% and if we had an 8% rate down the road?
Oh, so 8%.
We're getting close.
Really?
But we're in the high 6s and mid 7s today. Yeah. So how many of you guys have heard the word, the marry the house, date the rate? Never heard that? You just marry the house, you just marry the person? Okay. So marry the house. Right now we're talking about marrying the payment. We're talking about payment. Right? Different things that you can look at to help the payment with that interest rate, because after you guys get over the shell shock, because we've already cried over this weekend. My eyes are a little baggy because I cried every night this weekend since Wednesday. We actually are settling into the fact that the rates are what they are. I think it's also a good indication that Friday they're going to announce whether this would be another recession in Q1. Usually if that happens and we go into recession, there is typically a reduction in interest rates, mortgage interest rates. We just don't know when, right? So don't go telling your clients that after Friday we're going to have lower interest rates. But what I want to share with you guys today is what is our seller contribution. And the reason I share this with you is because we're seeing some sales price reductions. We also are offering you guys or your clients a lender credit, the 1% lender credit, so you can always use that in conjunction. But I wanted to make sure, because this seems to be a topic of conversation, how much exactly can the seller contribute? And the max seller contribution includes lender, realtor, and seller, okay? So, starting off with your VA loans, the max seller contribution is 4%. What's really cool about VA financing, though, is you can use that to help your VA buyers pay off collection accounts. So, or even debts in some case, right? Which, if you need help in qualifying for a mortgage, that would be one way. Plus, your VA loans do not have mortgage insurance, so typically they're going to qualify for a little bit more. FHA, 3.5% down is going to be a 6%. Nothing more than that. For conventional financing, this is 3 to like 9.99 or 10%. It's going to be 3% seller contribution. Just remember, a buyer can put 3% down today for conventional financing. 10% to 24.99 or 25% is 6% seller contribution. And if you have somebody who is selling their home and going to put more than 25% down, you can actually get 9% seller contribution. What do you guys think about that? Can you guys see some opportunity here where maybe that rate doesn't apply anymore, or it's not going to be as big of a shell as sticker shock to your client? Something else to keep in mind is for your investors, the max contribution is 2%. Okay, so and honestly, with our investor purchases today, our rates, they are coming, there's no way to avoid having a discount points. In fact, yesterday I locked in a second home, actually an investment property, and it was 7.625 with 3%. But we were working towards, if you put an additional down payment, if that actually helps the client, it actually ended up being better for him to put less money down today, even though he had to pay the 3%, with the intent down the road to refinance, knowing that he'd save himself today that cost to allow him to use those funds for potentially buy down the rate, or to potentially refinance down the road. Any questions on this? I don't mean to be Debbie Downer, but I wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of where the interest rates are at today. Upcoming news is going to be the recession news for GDP on Friday. Yeah.
Could you use some of that seller contribution to buy down the rate?
Absolutely, you should. Yeah, you could also use, so any of our prosperity lending loan officers will be offering this, the 1% lender credit. So if you have a seller who wants to do, say, 3%, you can piggyback that if you use one of us in prosperity lending, total of 4. Right, same thing here, if you want 2% seller contribution, 1% lender credit. You absolutely, that would definitely be a scenario that would be in the buyer's best interest, is to reduce the rate, because typically about 1% is about half a point to 3/4 in interest rate, which is about $200 to $300 depending on sales price or payment. Right, which is about 50 to 75,000 in sales.
How far can you buy down a rate? Like if I give you 6%, could I really buy it down 3 points?
We do run into what we call this high cost loan, so we have to do some maneuvering on the back end side. But if it is truly a client who wants to buy down the rate by discount points, they can do it. I think we have a client that actually did that. We just had to run through some different numbers for us so that it doesn't look like it's a high cost loan.
So in theory, if I gave you $12,000 on a $200,000 house, and I got a 6% credit, and I bought my rate down 3%, 3% of that $200,000 loan would be $7,000 a year in cost, so I'd save that over 3 years.
And that's the one thing we always want to do is take a look at what the return on investment is going to be. Most of your clients are going to be their short term. You want to look at it based on cost over payment benefit. Long term, if you have a client who knows they're going to stay in there 10 years, you also have to look at the difference in interest rate and what they're going to be paying over the course of their time. So right now, we're at the rate that we're at. I think we're going to see the one thing I would just say is that rates are going to be varying for the next few months, to be very honest with you, because we do have 2 more rate Fed meetings, which they are saying they are going to be rate hikes as well, for the Fed fund rates.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
So if you guys remember about 4 or 5 weeks ago in the sales meeting, we talked about the fact that the market's changing, all these things are happening. And so 2 or 3 months ago, Shelley was talking about all the refis that were going on. Because there's so much equity in the marketplace, lenders are refining properties like crazy. What's happening in that marketplace now that rates have gone up? Is it still hot? Are the rates completely crazy?
So the refinances have pretty much slowed down, although we do have, Myra just turned one in today. Was that cash out? Cash out refinance. We are seeing higher debt from our buyers collectively, that they are putting more things on credit card. So there are opportunities where honestly cash out refinance could help. What we're actually seeing more of today is clients tapping into their equity to prepare for purchasing an investment property down the road. So there we have home equity lines of credit where they can take up to 90% of their equity. They can hold that line of credit until something should happen that they want to use that to put down on another property as an investment. But the cash out refinances right now.
Rates on the refi the same?
Same, a little bit higher for cash out.
Cool. And HELOCs?
HELOCs are ranging, base rate was like 6 1/4 yesterday, so we're right at about 8 for that home equity.
They can be
home equity
HELOCs
line
too,
credit.
it's up to either one.
Yeah, but I mean, that's where the investment opportunity side of it, you have to pencil that out too.
Very cool. Give it up.
Any other questions for me? Round of applause for Shelley.
Okay, a couple of quick announcements. So the Northwest office, we're pleased to announce that we have the internet in. It looks beautiful, the lights are on. Brandon and I walked the hallways just to imagine it without anybody in it for now. We're just waiting for you guys to move in. We have about 4, maybe 5 offices left for rent, but we hope that office will be available for move-in probably Monday for anyone that wants to start moving their stuff in. If you actually leased an office, you're going to be getting emails from me congratulating you on your new space and sending you your lease. No forgetting who I am. So we're really stoked about that. It's been a labor of love, but it is absolutely gorgeous. It's a great location, and so when you're out there, please stop by and check it out. Want to talk just for a quick second about the market. So who here is getting out of real estate? No? Just the managers. Okay, good. So, we've talked many times that the market is going to continuously cycle. There are going to be things that we have to get used to. There's going to be ways that we have to get used to doing business. Just from a show of hands, I'm not pointing at anybody, who has done a deal in the last 2 months? Put something in escrow, listed a property, met a buyer, put them under a buyer-broker agreement. Okay, so about 64% of the room, which is fantastic. What happens usually when a market turns is that everyone looks at each other and says, what the hell do we do now, right? And I think that was the month of August. In the month of August, we saw everyone reevaluate, I'm in contract on a property, do I really want this home? And we saw one of the highest cancellation rates nationally. It was 16% as a national average, and I think in Las Vegas it was like 24% or 25%. Wow. And then August ended, and people realized that they still had to have a place to live. And sellers realized that they really do have to sell that home, and so we started seeing change orders. I had an agent come into my office and they say, when I want to change the price on a property, what do I use? Because they had never seen or used a change order, because we didn't change property prices, we only sold them for more money in 2 days. because that's all we posted on Facebook, right? And so now we've had to get into that process of constantly going through and evaluating the listing. So a couple things I want to share with you. Number one, the number one reason why someone fires their agent as their listing agent is what?
Communication.
Communication. Every single time when a broker gets a call from a seller, the first thing they say is, well, they showed up real attentive when they got my listing and I haven't heard from them since. Why do agents not communicate on a listing that's not selling?
They don't like talking about bad news.
Yeah. Agents hate bad news. They don't know what to say. They don't know why it hasn't sold. Do you think that your client is well served if you don't know why their home hasn't sold? So let's talk about this. Why has the home not sold? Give me some reasons.
2 reasons.
Price. Price is the first one, right? We can all agree on that. That if the home were priced so well, so good, that they couldn't not go and buy the house would probably sell. What's the other one? Condition. So condition affects the marketplace. Yeah, it's not the most beautiful home in the neighborhood. The peach carpet and white small tiles don't look as good as you think they do. You've never cleaned this house since you moved in, right? The backyard is so overgrown that we could mow it down, right? What's the next one?
Unprofessional photography of pictures.
Okay, so Ellie brings up an interesting fact. Presentation to the marketplace can delay people from showing or participating in your listing. Have you ever had a client look at a listing photo and say, I don't like that house, but they've never actually seen the house? So I want to bring this full circle on the listing photo. I'm not saying you're a horrible person for taking your iPhone 14 with its great camera that you paid a fortune for and taking those photos of the house, but is it the best possible photo of the house? How many photos are you allowed to put on your listing right now? 99. Why was it not 100? Right? But my whole point is that if I go into the MLS right now and I pull up all of our company listings, I guarantee you that less than 15% of those listings have 99 photos. Now I understand there's only so many photos of the bathroom that you can take, right? And please put the toilet seat down. Please, right? But what else sells a home in that area? The neighborhood, the community, the amenities, the major grocery store parking lot with everything you could ever want in it. You can get creative about how you market a property. When I go out and take a listing, I actually get my photographer to take photos of the surrounding area. You know, I have one in Lake Las Vegas and I said, the house is great, it's beautiful, but the community that it's in is also gorgeous. Let's take some photos of that and add them to the back of the listing because I have to get to 99 photos. Why do I want to be at 99 photos?
The most photos
Because it can't have better.
placement, right?
Yeah, so the most photos, most presented, has the highest placement on most of the websites that are out there. Because they want to get the people on the sites looking at the properties. How long does it take to look through 99 photos, even if you're clicking really fast? Right, it takes a little while, so they're on your site longer. Okay, so we talked about price, we talked about presentation, we talked about its condition. What else?
Ease of showing.
Okay. You should get on the board of directors. So this is something that is true, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm the worst offender of this. I have a buyer that's in town. He's only here for a day. He only can look at like 12 properties because I'm not driving him everywhere. And we go and pick properties, and yours says appointment only on Saturday when the sun is in the 80th crest, and my client feels really good about opening up the door, right? We see those in the MLS, you know, works during the day, only show at night, right? And don't open the third bedroom door. These are things that agents are seeing in the MLS, and could it deter them from presenting the property to their client? Right, wrong, or indifferent, it absolutely will. So what do you show most often?
Vacant.
Okay, so I can't kick them out of the house, but all the time sellers say, well, do you think it'll sell faster vacant? It'll sure show faster. I don't know that it will sell faster. And so it's about that presentation. Have you ever seen in the MLS really easy to show? Yeah, you just put the key in the door and unlock it, right? Well, sometimes that makes me feel better. Agent very communicative. They're willing to talk with you. Easy to set up showings with the client. But I'm just putting it to you that sometimes agents will cut corners to get more homes in to show their client. Okay, so it is important how it's presented to show. What else? No one said it yet. I'm still waiting.
Well, my other one is keep the sellers away from everybody!
Yeah. My seller knows the home best, so they're going to tell you all about it. And that's where you lost it. right? I've gone to a house and the seller opened the door and I don't remember what happened until we left, right? So I'm not saying that's a bad thing that the seller's there, but it's not a great thing because the buyer feels uncomfortable sometimes with the seller dragging them around the property. And one other thing I'll tell you is make sure before you open a door to your buyer, you tell them that they may be overheard on what they say. Boy, this home sucks. Probably not gonna get your offer accepted now, the seller knows that, right? So just be very cognizant of that, but I think that is important. Make it an easy showing atmosphere to make them feel good. There's still one out there that's the most important thing that leads to a home selling. Yeah, the market, right? How many homes fit my buyer's criteria that are also for sale that are priced better than my home? Market absorption rate. You can actually go into the MLS at any time, and number one, what you should do is go in as your buyer. You have a buyer that's looking between 500 and 600,000, and your listing's listed at 550. And they're looking within 2 miles of where they work or 2 miles in that school district, I don't care, whatever. And you put that search out there, how many homes are nicer than yours that you would buy before your listing sells? And so a lot of times what I find out is no one actually told the seller what their competition looks like. No one actually took the seller and put them in the house that's nicer than theirs, that's listed for less than theirs, and that's why their home hasn't sold. Is it your fault that there's competition? Is it your fault their home isn't the nicest home in the neighborhood? Is it your fault they haven't cleaned that place in 2 years and you know it? No, but it is your job to let them know the bad news as well as the good news. So again, when we're talking about the marketplace, we're getting into a market where homes will be on the market 3 to 4 months. And so you have to be the opposition to why your home hasn't sold and let the clients know why. Now, I highly recommend, I know Todd does this, I know Angela does this, I'm sure everyone in here has some process. I update my clients every single Friday. Without fail, I send an email, a call, or a text, and I say, hey, listen, here's everything that happened with your house. Here's the Zillow report that shows how many hits it got. Here's the reverse prospecting showing how many agents sent it out in a search. Here's the key box log showing how many people access the key box if you have one. And here's the stats in your neighborhood of what's happened just this week. I send all of those things out to my client, and what the best part about this is, instead of me asking for a price reduction, my client comes back with, what do you think we should drop the price to? Is that an easier conversation to have?
Yeah.
Here's the thing I hate the most. Chris, what price do you think the home will sell at? The right one. I tell my sellers the same thing. We can stay on the market a little bit longer and try to preserve your dollars, or we can extremely aggressively price your home and hope that it causes it to sell right away. Which path would you prefer? Whose home is it? Whose money is it? Whose decision is it? So all I do is provide info. Todd?
I think it's important in today's market to understand that what I call market velocity is important. If
That's a big word.
Yeah, if you've got a house in a neighborhood that's the best price per square foot, it's got the most bedrooms, it's in good condition, and it's the lowest price in the neighborhood, and it's not going into contract, it might not be priced. So don't always just harp on price. Look at what else is going on in the market. If nothing in the neighborhood is going into contract, then it's probably not price, it's volume, it's velocity. There's not enough people looking in that neighborhood. So the question doesn't become what price do we put it at, it's how do we get more people into your house?
Yeah.
Right? You need to leave for the weekend so I can hold a 3-day open house, things like that. And then I think it's important to also look at when you're comping homes today, you're not necessarily comping homes by sold price, you're comping homes by under contract price.
Good point.
What has gone under contract recently will tell me what my property has to be listed at or close to in order to go under contract.
So for those of you at home that didn't hear that, Todd was talking about market velocity, which is a great word. It's like Jurassic Park real estate velocity, velociraptor. His point was that you need to be accurately pricing properties based on what's selling, not necessarily what's sold. And that's a huge point. One other thing that I think is really important on that is that when you're looking at the marketplace around your home, we're in a market now where necessarily the price reduction may not be the right effect, but a price increase. I've actually been in markets like this where you're priced out of the marketplace for that same buyer that Todd's talking about, and your home is priced too low for them to see it. I've raised the price on a home and actually sold it. It wasn't a very long market that worked in, but it was really cool when it did. So just keep in mind, you should be looking at both sides of that spectrum to make sure we're in price. Okay, a couple of things that we're going to do today. So number one, I'm going to bring up Tom. You guys all know Tom. Let's give Tom a round of applause. Come on up, Tom. We're going to do this in segments, so we have a lot of good things that are going on to recap. You can pick any one of these chairs. Under one of them is a $100 bill. You picked the wrong chair again. We'll give you this. So Tom recently came back from the REO Math Conference.
Something like that.
Yeah, and in Dallas. So here's why this is important, what I want him to talk about. So years ago, when in a galaxy far, far away, when REOs were prevalent, the main place you could go to meet REO asset managers and acquisition companies was at REO conferences. And we haven't seen an REO conference in 10 years, 12 years. You know, you would get those emails in the mail that said, hey, for $300, if you give us your money and your information, we'll give you a BPO and hopefully a listing down the road, and the listing never showed up like BPO did. That's what was happening. Anyone got those emails lately?
Yes.
Just sign up here to get assets,
Yes.
right? So I gotta tell you first off, a lot of those are crap. Don't give your money away without doing some research to make sure that they're a viable company that actually gets assets. But give us a little bit of a recap what you saw at the conference and where they
So, first of all, it was a very well-attended conference. And let me just give you some ideas of what everybody paid, right? It was $595 just to come to the conference. If you wanted to go to a class, it was an additional $100 per class.
What were the classes on?
REO labs, stuff for REOs, just general REO BS stuff, right? And now, hold on, but here's the other thing. And then for the room, right, for the 3 days, I think it cost me another $1,000. So I'm into it for like $2,000 to go there to be able to supposedly talk to an asset manager or find someone at the bar that likes to drink and strike up a conversation, right? So that's one way. The other way is to join a group, right? USREO, the Force, whatever. USREO charges $1,000 initiation and $175 a month. No guarantee of nothing. The REO Force, I think, was $1,500 for the whole year. But you can also get 20% off of ads and DS News and all that other kind of stuff, but they're the ones who put the conference on. So here's the takeaway. It's now very expensive to get into the REO field. The guarantees or the likelihood of getting an asset on your own without being part of a group is slim to none. I don't know where I was going with it.
I wonder that every day. But let me piggyback on what you're saying. So all of us, Tom was a top REO broker way back in the day. Thousands of homes sold. Some of them he even answered the phone on when I called. I sold REOs. And what I found out to be true was that I got my REO contract with my family through a connection of a friendship of someone we knew that worked at a bank. So physically talking with someone in a higher up level position got us in the door, and then we had to earn our way through it, right? Now, the same was true for you, but you did it in a different way, which this surprises me. I'm gonna say this to people because it's funny. He sent random faxes. You remember what a fax machine went? Wherever it went, right? He sent random faxes to banks all over the country, and finally, after a year, someone read one and called him. Can you believe that? I mean, millions of dollars this guy earned from a fax machine.
That was the only way to get out to people. But it was, here's the thing, it was consistent, right? It was consistent advertising that went out every single day, once a week, I think it was on a Friday, about the stats that was going on in Nevada. And it went across the whole country.
So stop right there. This is, boy, it's like we planned this. He sent stats on a fax machine to people so they got market information. What's interesting to me is every major public figure in a publicly traded company is available for contact. You understand what I just said? So every banking hierarchy that has corporate executives in every department, because they're publicly traded, provide their contact info. It may not be their best email, but it provides their email, and all he did was send them market information, and sooner or later, they figured he wouldn't go away, they contacted him. Every single one of you right now has the ability to do that. There's a US Banking Association that promotes every bank that's a member. You can actually get a list of it. There's about 65 banks here in Nevada that are part of it. And that you can actually see the executives of those banks. If you had a friend that knew one of those people that could get you a meeting, that is a foot in the door to REO. And that's how a lot of people got their contract. Anything you want to add on REOs?
Yeah, it's not going to be like it was. It is going to increase, but the normal, for our normal market really should be around 5% default rates, and I think we're at 2 or 3, maybe even 4. So we're close to already saturated. I love the fact that people are refinancing and getting HELOCs and paying off their credit card because, let's face it, human beings can't help it, right? They're going to overspend. And they get to a certain point where the credit card is just too expensive, and they refinance their home and they use their equity, and I call it the home ATM, right? They hit it all the time, and I love it because sooner or later, they're no longer going to be able to go back to that well because the water's gone, and they're going to need to sell their house or they're going to lose their house. So understand that even though the market may be tight right now, everybody is drinking from that well, and sooner or later, that well will run dry, and they're going to need to do something, right? And where are we going to be when that market hits that way? So use now, when it's sort of slow, to get your stuff together and know how to market a home, how to talk to those consumers, because you're going to need to be their confidant, right? You're no longer just going to be the real estate agent. You're going to need to help them through the situation that they put themselves in. And you can't say it, but they put themselves in because they used up all the equity in their house. So just know how and start figuring out how to have those conversations.
So the question should be, why, Tom, would you spend the money to go to a conference like that when it's not a big chunk of the market? It's
Brandon
because
paid for it?
Yeah, no. He didn't. It's laying the groundwork for the possibility of what tomorrow could bring. And I think that's the biggest thing I noticed in the previous market, is when the word REO came up, a lot of us had no idea what it meant or what the process was or how it even worked. We should learn from our mistakes, right? I would not want to be the person sitting there 3 years from now saying, man, I wish I would have gone to one of those conferences, or I wish I would have emailed my friend that works at a bank, or I wish I would have asked my database if they know of anyone in asset management. These are all things you can be doing now to lay the groundwork for that.
Yeah, and let me just add to that, because this is the second time around, right? I started in 1995 trying to get REO properties. And that was when the only thing that was in REO were crack houses, right? And it went from crack houses to $1 million houses. So just know that you need, in everything you do in real estate, you need to start doing it now. It may not pay off now or instantaneously, but you're going to be there. You know, I always wondered why people put their names on billboards and bus stops, right? It's so that people know who the heck you are when they finally do need you. It's not to get business immediately. If you two people come to a listing appointment and one of them has billboards and bus stop signs, right? Who are they going to feel more comfortable with automatically? The person that they know because they've seen them out on the street. You must be great because you're all over town. And that's the thing. I must be a great REO agent because I see you in all these articles or advertisements or whatever. And you just need to set the groundwork so that you have the advantage when it's time for that trigger to be pulled.
Perfect. All right. Any questions for Tom before we move on to the next topic? Thank goodness. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to welcome up our fearless leader, Brandon Roberts. Brandon, come up to Tom. So first off, let's talk about where we're at right now. So believe it or not, Tom is the 2023 Nevada Realtors President. Now, I know he may not look like much, but that's a very important position, by the way, because that year is a legislative session. And so, believe it or not, our Realtor PAC has a tremendous power in Carson City about laws that affect our industry. This guy right here will be on the front lines defending your industry.
Scary,
We need
isn't it?
him on that wall,
It's
okay?
Who's getting out now?
But Tom's been prepping for this for years, by the way. He's been a participating member of the PAC. He's been on the executive team of not only local and state, but we have some more exciting news. Just this last week, our very own Brandon Roberts won his election as the 2025. He won the election for vice president in 2023, but that makes him automatically the 2025 president, which is also the next legislative session right after Tom. So whatever Tom messes up, Brandon can fix. So that's good. That's good no matter what. But what this also does is this puts Signature and our company and our brokerage and our agents at the pinnacle of real estate law and legislation for the next 5 years. And so I think that by itself deserves a round of applause, please. So we're going to ask a couple questions. So we just went to the state conference, which was in Lake Tahoe. Part of that conference, we always try to piggyback a state board meeting. It's the best 5 hours you can have with lunch that may or may not make you sick. But I want to talk for a minute about that conference. And so first off, Tom, you just spent this last year as president-elect of the state preparing for your year. What is it that Signature agents need to know about preparation for your year and how they can get involved and support it?
I can't guarantee how we do at the legislative session, right?
Yeah, we know.
No, because that's the majority of my year for the first, well, from February to May, right, is the legislative session. So there are a ton of politicians that are going to try to change everything that, how we do business, whether it be rent control, whether it be this or whether it be that, taxes, service fees, whatever you want to, whatever you can think of, they're going to try to pull it, right? And we've spent this year, and we're not done yet, trying to figure out who would be the best politicians up there that would be realtor friendly. They'll help them get elected. And one of the things that will be coming out real soon is a voter guide for those that are realtor-friendly politicians. They're Democrat, they're Republicans, it doesn't matter. What matters is whether or not we have an open door to them when they're in there so that we can talk to them and talk them out of the stupid stuff that they're about to vote on and do, right? So that's very important. The legislative session, I can't guarantee anything, but we're trying to work our butts off. The other person that is not here that is part of that is Keith Lynham. And he's the legislative
You're stealing my
chair.
thunder.
Oh, sorry.
It's right here.
Okay, well, you're welcome.
So the other major thing that I was going to talk about that we've already had happen before at another sales meeting is Keith Lynham, our downtown office manager, is the legislative chairman. And so to be the legislative chairman is actually a very big deal. You set the tone for the legislative agenda for the realtors, which means that Tom and Keith have to work really close together. And so the only way I can figure out how to make that work is I made sure Keith worked here and Tom worked here and Brandon did what to do. But the whole thing is they're all friends. They've known each other for years, and hopefully that will lead to good things happening. But we also at this meeting had a PAC meeting, and we had a legislative committee meeting, and all of us here, and Janet and Patty, and all of us have served on this committee before, and we're serving on it now, and hopefully some of us in the future. But what do these groups do, and what do they do for members? Either one of you.
So the legislative decides where the money goes, no.
No, the PAC does.
Who we're going to vote for, the PAC gives the money, right?
Yes.
So legislative feeds into the PAC gives the money. We spent most of this year, like I said, interviewing the politicians to make sure, you know, who we want to vote for, and then it goes to the committees, and they agree with us or disagree, and we change things, and everybody argues. It's not a pleasant sight sometimes, but when all is said and done, we all come to the same mindset of these are the people that well, let me put it this way. These are the best people that we can at this time say will do the best for us.
Yeah.
All right?
Let me expand on that before we get us in trouble. All right, so what we did is that there are a number of legislators and a number of state officers in our state government that we spent time interviewing. And every year the PAC gives contributions to candidates, and we only look at two issues. Realtor issues are, industry related, things that only affect our real estate industry and private property rights. It's the only two things that we look at. We don't care about education, even though it's important. We don't care about, what your politics are and all of these other things. We never talk about religion or any of that, but we only look at those items. So because of that, we're able to look at both sides and actually all three sides of the aisle. Did you guys know the majority of voters in the state are now independents? And so it's completely changed the entire makeup of the state. And so what we've done with the voter guide that Tom's talking about that they're putting out is we vetted all of these candidates. Not that one candidate was not supportive or wouldn't be, but we had to look at the voting record completely. How did they vote on all of our realtor issues and how did they support us in all of the previous sessions? And so with that, and a lot of debate from this group, we came out with our realtor voter guide. And again, the reason why the voter guide is important that legislators have started to notice that realtors, when supportive and productive by pulling money out of their pocket, will vote for the best candidate regardless of party. And so let me give you a prime example of that. Heidi Kasama, we're going to talk about in a minute, was our first realtor champion in a big way. We had other realtor champions along the way, but she was the first promoted realtor. And the reason why we did this is we were sick and tired of going to legislators trying to explain why this issue was horrible, and legislators just didn't understand our business. They didn't understand how tenant rights and tenant issues could lead to owners not being able to make the mortgage payment on the house the tenant lives in, right? And so we said, well, the best thing that would happen is we put a realtor in the room who practices the business, and by doing that, they can explain to the other legislators around them exactly what happens. And so we were able to get Heidi Kasama elected, and we have two other, possibly three other realtor champions that could and probably will win their election, and that would mean we'd have 4 realtors sitting in Carson City, which is phenomenal. We have them on both sides of the aisle. But here's how interesting this gets. Heidi Kasama, who was a past president of the state board, because she's a realtor party participant, voted for a Democrat, and she's a conservative Republican, and her conservative Republican opponent hit her campaign for it because she voted for a Democrat. But she voted for it because she knew it was a realtor-centric issue, and it made more of a point to elect realtor-centric candidates than it did just because of her party. So kind of interesting perspective to go back and forth, but good stuff either way. So Brandon, for you, you're leading the local association. You've done a great job as our president. Let's give them a round of applause. How was it so far?
The year's not over yet. No, it's been good. It's been a good experience to go through. It's like being back in high school. There's a lot of drama. But they're all good people serving on the board, and ultimately we're all working towards a better association, and that's all you can ask for. It's good to have differing opinions. Because it gives you good discussion and allows you to look at both sides, just like on the PAC and everything else. And it doesn't always go your way, but it's okay because there's a good amount of discussion, and ultimately, hopefully, it's the best thing for the association.
The thing you guys missed was Brandon gave a very moving motivational speech when he ran for his election. It lasted like 30 minutes, I think. It was really like but tell us a little bit about what you hope to achieve and what your goals are when you are the
Other than cleaning up my mess.
Yeah.
I'm going to rebuild all the committees that he dissolved. No, it's a lot of people are like, well, what are you going to do in your year? Well, it's 2025. It's a ways out, and so part of the benefit of coming on as the vice president moving up is you actually get to start to learn what's happening on the executive level and kind of go through that. So it'd be foolish for me to come in and say, I'm going to change all these things or I'm going to do all these things because I don't know what I don't know yet. And that's part of the issue sometimes we have on local. You have people move up pretty fast and they don't know the history behind some stuff. So hopefully this first year I'm going to learn a lot through that. And again, it will be a legislative year, so there will be a lot of time dedicated to that, which will be good, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity.
Okay, so last point on this I want to make is that Signature has been and always will be hopefully centered on positioning our agents in participation in our association. And so we've done a great job of that with all of our participating members that are serving on committees and executive positions. If you have a desire or an interest to get more involved, we'd love to talk to you. We'd really love to talk to you and get you involved in that. They actually are starting rules they call the signature rule because there's so many of us on so many different committees that they want to limit how many there could be. So we want to push that rule to the threshold. But congratulations to you guys, and best of luck on both of your candidacies and going through that. Brandon, you had brought up a good point. We're going to jump around a little bit. Listing attribution, talk about that on a local level and what's going on there.
Okay, so any of you got an email from MLS on listing attribution? Todd, does anybody know what it is?
No.
So there's a big change coming to the way your properties are marketed on other companies' websites. Okay, so we all subscribe to a thing called IDX, Internet Data Exchange. So that allows me to syndicate our property or share our listings over with XYZ Realty, and in turn, they will do the same, and so that we can have all the properties on our websites kind of through that. So that's IDX. Then there's something called, it's syndication, which a lot of the consumer portals have, and that's where we send the information to. But IDX is joint sharing between brokers of the listing. So your listing could appear on Berkshire Hathaway, Century 21, ERA, anybody else's websites, and theirs will appear on ours. And in the past, the IDX rule was that you had to give credit to the company, right, or the agent. And so it would just say, hey, you know, this listing courtesy of Tom Blanchard at Signature Real
Way
Estate.
down at the bottom.
Yeah, just somewhere on there, and then it was changed, it's got to be a little bit more prominent. But now, attribution says that they not only have to put the company and the agent, they also have to put a contact information, which would either be the office address or an email, or the agent's, not address, email address, office email address, or office phone number, or the agent's email, or the agent's phone number. And it's broker's choice. So I get to decide if we're gonna have all the calls come into the office, or we're gonna turn it back to you guys. So I've already gone in and done all the settings that are required so that you guys will get your leads directly for any of your listings. So now when you have a listing that goes on another website, your contact information will be there. Doesn't mean your phone's necessarily gonna ring off the hook, but on the flip side,
Your phone may ring.
every listing that's now on our website has everyone else's contact information too. So it goes both ways, and it's a fair thing. But just so you know, it is set up for your guys' information. Now, it's up to you to make sure your information is correct.
So a couple of things I want to have you talk about on top of that. So one, Las Vegas Realtors has a public-facing website that they are actively marketing to consumers, driving that the realtor is the center of the real estate transaction. All of our listings that are on the MLS are on that site. I actually had an agent come in the other day and say, hey, is this fraud? I got this email from Las Vegas Realtors, it doesn't look right. So you can actually receive leads from that website, and it predominantly favors a listing agent because your listing is out there on that site. And so what this means as well, that you may get a lead from a system you don't notice. So here's the rule of thumb: verify, verify, verify. Right? Because there are fraudulent lead systems out there that try to get your info and, you know, try to get you to give them their credit card and some Apple gift cards. Don't do that, right? But just verify the information and check it out, but you will have that opportunity to get those leads and see it in there. There's actually a news story about somebody who was catfishing realtors with faulty information that's out there right now.
Right, multi-million-dollar offers, and then not depositing their earnest money and not moving through the transaction. Just have a process that you work your leads and treat them all the same. Make sure you're making contact with them, going through your buyer's presentation, the whole thing. Just go through an entire process. Use the buyer agency agreement. And just treat everyone the same. Every lead, and you'll be okay.
So last question for you guys before I move on to Janet and Todd. Any takeaways or things that you brought back from the convention that you'd like to share with the group?
Yeah, I won't be having one next year. Right?
Another takeaway.
Okay, so the state convention is a good thing, and it's a lot to get that momentum going. And there's been some issues, like we had one, we had break, and then you had COVID. So and then this one's up in Tahoe, which is a little harder for people to get to, but it's a great thing to go to, and they try to alternate them from the north to the south. But the next time it's in the north, or even up, or even down south, I recommend that you guys register and go to it. He won't be doing one next year. It's a legislative year, and And we've got the national convention coming into Vegas,
And a
That's why it's
regional-
not
And a regional meeting.
and a regional vice president meeting and all that stuff. So there'll be a lot going on in Vegas, that's why he's chosen not to do it, no other reasons.
Okay.
But it's just good also the networking that you do with the other agents in the other parts of the state. And the referrals and other things that can happen in that direction too. And if it is ever your goal to get involved in these other committees and stuff, it's good to know these people. But they had a class on crypto, they had some motivational speakers, they had a lot of good stuff that was up there. Unfortunately, and I'd like to see this, and maybe that's what I'll put on my agenda for 2025, is some CE classes along with the convention to make it that much better. But I recommend going, if you haven't been to Tahoe or Incline Village, it's beautiful, so.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause. Todd, come on up. Janet, come on up. Take the nice chair.
Oh, okay, I will. You should take Elliot there too.
Oh, yes, Ellie, come on up too. I almost forgot. I have you on my list.
While Ellie comes up, I'd like to nominate him for the 2027 state.
That's almost funny because it's already out there. Okay, so we had an entire group, like almost every signature broker was at the state convention, so we apologize, but I know everyone was returning emails and calls in the app. Todd, we're going to start with you real quick. You were working on something that had nothing to do with the state convention. I'll give you my microphone. Tell us this top secret thing that you were working on.
This will be the third time I've talked about it. So we're in the process of creating a statewide residential purchase agreement. It's a residential purchase agreement that we're going to use both by the north and the south. There are some challenges in what the north needs the contract to be able to do and what the south needs it to do. And so we've been working on that since March of this year. We've been meeting every 2 weeks via Zoom. And this was our first opportunity to get together as a group, everybody from the north, from central Nevada and south Nevada, southern Nevada, met up there Wednesday and Thursday. They stuck us in a really nice room, a really nice table and a great view, and locked the door, and we weren't able to. So we didn't go to any convention. I don't know, that sounds like that was a bad thing, but.
The form's important.
Yeah, so we're creating a statewide form, and as long as we get all of the associations in the state to adopt the form, ultimately you would have the ability to understand what's going on paperwork-wise in the north. I don't know if it would be in your best interest to try to do something in the north. It depends on what your expertise is. If you've never been to Incline or Tahoe or some of these outlining cities up there, I don't know that it's smart that you would try to represent somebody up there, but you would at least understand what's going on.
Perfect, fantastic. Ellie, tell us some of your takeaways from the state convention.
Okay, well.
Was this your first state convention, by the way?
First state convention, yeah. And what you know, you should all feel very good about Tom taking over during the legislation year, because he did a great job getting us through COVID, didn't he? I know I said that, but anyway, but it was great to see a lot of people that I've gotten to know a little bit, and that's one of the benefits of going to these conventions, to continue to build relationships with our fellow realtors. The biggest thing I got out of it was there was two motivational speakers. One was a fellow named Grant. I forget Grant's last name. I apologize.
Janet has copious notes. She'll tell you a second.
He was fantastic. I got it.
His name was Grant.
Corgan.
Corgan.
Yeah. This guy was a professional athlete, a snowboarder, a skier, everything outdoors, and he had an accident and had a spinal cord injury. Lost the use of his legs, everything from his belly button down. And this guy, because of his mindset, is walking with canes, and I know without a doubt at some point we'll be walking without canes, but the talk was all about the mindset. And you have to have the right mindset to succeed in this business. And Grant obviously has it. I hope we all have it. You've got to have a positive, upbeat, can-do mindset more now than ever. So that was a great talk. And to be frank with you, when he first came out, I'm 67. I've been in sales all my life. How many times can you listen to motivational speakers? Well, let me tell you something. That guy was fabulous. Then a lady came on. Look at her name.
The chicken wing girl.
Yes, she was great, man.
Courtney
Courtney
DeMarco.
DeMarco, this gal had a little run-in with COVID, and it was a major, major deal. And I'm not gonna go through her whole story, but the takeaway for me was something that I really needed, because too often, if something goes wrong, I may let it bug me a little longer than I should. Her attitude was, man, it's over, it's done, on to the next. It's done, next. It's over, next. Get that garbage off your plate. It's no good. It's used up. It's just garbage. So those are the two big takeaways for me, along with, we know the legislative session is going to be a biggie this year, but I feel we're in great hands.
And Ellie did a great job representing BA rep as well at that community conference and manning their tables. So thank you for doing that. And
You won $500.
and you won $500. Yeah, you wins every time. Wins every time. Janet, tell us your copious notes, takeaways from the convention. Janet was in the front row. No one ever sits in the front row. Yeah, just because it's the front on the left side. She took notes there bright and early, smile on her face. Tell us what you took from the convention.
Okay, so I'm gonna agree with a lot of what Ellie said. To me, the whole thing was mainly about mindset. Almost everybody there was either on a local board or the state board. They were all experienced agents, so there was none of this. This is how you need to talk to your seller when you go into a listing appointment. It was about your mindset. But the one thing that I did take away from Courtney, who really had a long, long struggle with COVID, and should have died, but she did not. But she said, every morning, if you're on the wake-up list, be grateful. And so this morning I got up and I'm walking down the hall and I went, oh, I was on the wake-up list. So, but they were two inspirational speakers, when Grant was speaking, you could have heard a pin drop in that room. Nobody moved, nobody shuffled paper, nobody did anything, but he brought his wife. And he'd only been married 5 months when the accident had happened. And due to some personal situations, I'm kind of watching her, because she's standing, leaning against the wall, and she looked at him the whole time he was speaking, like, you're wonderful, I love you, you're so fabulous. And she had the most positive aura about her. That was very inspirational to me. But one thing I really enjoyed was a little give and take session with Tiffany Banks, our NVR attorney, and Daryl Plummer, who is one of our Nevada commissioners. And they brought up some things that that they've been asked that are most talked about. And they did introduce Gina Sessions, who is the new person on our legal hotline for the state. So if you have a legal question and you call the legal hotline number, which I will put in the newsletter, your chances are you're going to be talking to Gina. But here are some of the key issues. And one of them was, can you do raffles at broker Obits? Just like we're doing a raffle today. And the answer really is there's nothing in the law that prevents that, but they suggest changing it to drawing instead of raffle. We're having a drawing for booze here, so, but we're not having a raffle. Another question was loan officers prefer that percentages rather than dollar amounts be put in as your seller's giving buyer back closing costs or whatever. They want percentages rather than dollar amounts. Now you might have Jason shaking his head. So then they talked at length about.
25%.
The contract has a dollar sign.
I know it. So that's a problem.
Change that.
Do you have anybody on the leadership?
Sorry, Will's off the bus. Go ahead, Janet.
Okay, so then they talked at length about things that your unlicensed assistant can do, and there is a white paper on the division website where you can look up the duties that an unlicensed assistant can do for you. And then, did you know there's now an exemption on the SRPT, SRPD, sellers of property disclosure, for trustees. So if you've been appointed as a trustee just to get rid of this property and to sell it, you don't have to sign the SRPD. That just passed and went into effect recently. Another thing they talked about was earnest money disputes, which is the #1 phone call the legal hotline gets, and the commissioner and the attorney both emphasized earnest money disputes are between the buyer and the seller, not between the listing agent and the buyer's agent. So keep that in mind. And they also pointed out an issue that's becoming an issue. If another agent touches the client, no.
Bring that up.
All right, so Ellie has a buyer, and he's going out of town, and the buyer really wants to see this property on Saturday, and so he asked me to show it for him, and I go show the property and talk to him about the house, and maybe I show him one more house. I need to be put on a supplemental duties oath. Even though that's my only part of the transaction, I didn't write it up, I didn't do anything for the buyer as far as the RBA goes, I need to be on the supplemental disclosure. And then another big thing is proper cancellation. And so the question was asked, is it okay if I just send an email to the buyer's agent saying, I'm sorry, my seller is not accepting your offer? And the answer is no. No, your seller has to sign if they are rejecting the offer. So keep that in mind. And there's a whole lot more, but we're out of time. It's 10:30 and I'm trying to be aware of that. But I just want to tell y'all real quickly, and I'll put all this in the newsletter too, October is turning out to be a really busy month. So if you don't have any business, get out there and network and meet some other agents who may help you in the future. So for example, tomorrow we have a CE class here on agency. Monday is the LVR golf tournament. Wednesday, October the 6th is CE and the breast cancer committee meeting to do the final preparations for the bake-off sale and the luncheon that we're putting on. October 12th at 4 o'clock is the Realtor Happy Hour right here in this room. Everybody's welcome to come. Thursday, October 13th at 11:30, we're having right here a lunch and learn on an Airbnb workshop done by an attorney. Friday, October the 14th, 10:30, the last general membership meeting of the year with special guest speaker at lunch, Terry Watson, and your free CE after lunch is Terry Watson. It'll be a 4-hour comedy show.
Twofer.
Exactly, so if you haven't signed up, you better get in now. It's not sold out, I haven't checked. So, October 19th, WCR is hosting their Bras for a Cause, and we have like 5 or 6?
Don't forget October 21st and October 22nd.
I haven't got there yet.
The most important dates on
My birthday and his birthday.
So, then the very next night, YPN is having their trivia night, October 20th. Teams of 5, $30 a person, which includes 2 free drink tickets and dinner. I already have 4 people for my team. I'm looking for 1 more. Yeah, you know, that's gone. So we have, I think we need a younger person.
Me?
A younger person who might know like stuff we don't know. You know, what Beyonce's
Beta
latest
just
song.
volunteered.
Yeah, Beta
All
said.
right, baby, you're on my team, but you better start studying. Okay. Thursday, October 20th, right here, we're having a lunch and learn on assumptions.
Don't assume it's just gonna be here.
Just, yeah. It is gonna be here.
I'm not assuming, I'm just making sure.
I don't know how much assumptions are gonna come into play, but we're
That plane was still taking off.
gonna find out. And then also the next week is Trunk or Treat here. And it'll be out in the parking lot, decorate your trucks, bring your kids, invite your clients to come and bring their kids. And usually we have a food truck and lots of fun. And then don't forget Chris and Todd's birthday.
Lois has got it up there, you forgot the most important thing.
Because it conflicts with the,
No complaint.
No conflicting. It doesn't
it
conflict
conflicts with the luncheon for breast cancer.
on the 8th.
No, no.
Yes.
October 8th, Saturday,
Yes, yeah.
the poker run, VA rep poker run, it's gonna be a blast. We're raising money, all the money goes to our local veterans, so
So you
please,
either go for boobies or go for vets.
go for both, go for both.
For both.
Bring the boobies to the vet.
So I know we're out of time, but I want to say this is about your business, okay? October 25th, of all those things are very important things you should get involved in. But the one thing you should really pay attention to is the trunk or treat. That's a client appreciation party. It's free, it doesn't cost you a dime. You can invite everybody you know to it, and it might be your last chance to make contact with a client in 2022. Don't miss inviting people that. And by the way, if they don't come, it's okay. You get credit for inviting. You don't get credit if you show up. You get credit because you invited them.
Cool, great stuff, let's give it up for our panel.
All right, my mom's gonna win some booze, so hold on, because she wins every week. How many tickets did you buy?
We put in $20.
Well, she wins every time, so.
All right, Lois, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Right, we've got about 70 people.
Five.
70
Number
signers. Oh, number 5 is Kathy Rice.
Kathy!
All of these?
Not all of them. She gets
One, 2, 3, 4, 5.
This is short.
Okay, want me to go to the next one? Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Number 7.
Wait, this is a twofer. This is a twofer.
It's a martini.
Wow.
It's the only way to get rid of a bottle of vermouth.
Congrats.
What do you say?
Hattie.
Shocking.
And 50 is Barbangela.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
1989. Was that what year?
And
61.
You got a choice.
61
choice.
is Kathy Rice.
Kathy again.
Oh,
Someone else can pick it. I already got to.
Do another.
Pick another one.
you paid for it, yeah.
Do it for sure.
53 is
Oh, shit.
Lois.
There you go.
Have a good